Hey Dad, I've really been enjoying this book, True Spirituality, Becoming a Romans 12 Christian by Chip Ingram. What a fantastic book. I highly recommend it to any dad who's trying to kind of walk the Christian life and be a godly father. And that's probably you or you wouldn't be watching this video. I want to tell you a quick story. One time I woke up in Paris, France. I was traveling for work and I woke up to that text you don't want to get when you're traveling, and it says your flight today has been canceled. It was a Saturday and I would work there till Fridays and usually fly home on Saturdays. And I didn't like being gone. Like, some guys just love that whole kind of wanderlust and the travel and they'll stay extra days. I always wanted to get home as soon as I could. And I had a problem. And my problem was I needed to get home that day. Like, I didn't want to stay out one more day. And there are worse places to be stranded, of course, than Paris, France, for sure. But I was like, no, man, I'm getting home. And so I'm on the phone with the guy at Delta. He's trying to find me flights out of France. And he says, Ken, I'm not getting you home today out of France. Like, there's no way. And I said, well, then here's what you're going to do. You're getting me home today out of London, England. And he goes, really? And I said, absolutely. I can get from here to London. And so I had this whole plan. It was literally my day of planes, trains, and automobiles. That's exactly what happened. Like, I got in a cab, I got in a train, I went under the tunnel, I got to London. Then we couldn't get my ticket printed out. Like, it was a mess. But I got home that day, and I went from Paris to London and London to Louisville, Kentucky. So I made it. That was difficult. Okay, that was a challenge. It was a little wall I had to climb over, but it was possible. In reading this book, True Spirituality, Chip said something fantastic. He said, the Christian life that Paul describes, and he's specifically talking about Romans 6 through 8. I'll tell you a couple pieces in a moment. He says, the Christian life that Paul describes is not difficult. It's impossible. Only the Spirit of God dwelling in us has the ability to manifest the presence of power of Christ in and through our mortal bodies. So, for example, here's from Romans 6:11. So also you must consider yourselves dead to sin and alive to God in Christ Jesus. Dead to sin. You got to do that by your own power? No, that's what Chip's saying, is not by our own power, only by the Spirit of God. Or here's one more, Romans 8:13. For if you live according to the flesh, you will die. But if by the Spirit you put to death the deeds of the body, you will live. So, like my travel story, I had to do something that was difficult. And again, granted, getting home from Paris, I acknowledge, you're probably watching this video going, man, I've done things much more difficult than that, as have I. But the difference is, anything you and I do in our lives that is difficult falls into that category called difficult. Living the Christian life falls into this category called impossible, if we try to do it without living by the Spirit of God. And that leads me right to this week's mission. So Dad, this week, are you pushing through life's challenges under your own power? Are you just like a bulldozer and you're just going to get it done and you're going to push through under your own power? You know, that may work at your job. That may work at something you're physically building or you're repairing. That might work. However, to live out the Christian life, to love your wife as Christ loved the church, to lead your children, to serve without expecting something in return, those kinds of things we cannot do under our own power. As Chip described, they're not difficult, they're impossible. So this week, Dad, I'm hoping what you'll do is you'll ask God's Spirit to infuse you with power and strength to do His will, because that's the only way we're going to get her done. Dad, I pray that you will do that, because you're not a father on accident. So go be a father on purpose.